Out of Iowa, authorities believe the body of Mollie Tibbetts has been found just over a month after the college student was reported missing.
In July 2018, Mollie Tibbetts, a 20-year-old college student from Brooklyn, Iowa, vanished without a trace while out for her regular evening jog. Her disappearance set off a widespread search, with her family and law enforcement desperately hoping for answers. Despite several false leads, including a reported sighting at a truck stop, no breakthrough occurred until crucial surveillance footage emerged. This key evidence shifted the investigation's focus, leading authorities closer to unraveling the mystery. So how did this footage uncover what happened to Mollie? Let's dive into the case. Mollie Tibbetts was born on May 8, 1998, in San Francisco, California, to Rob Tibbetts and Laura Calderwood. Initially, they had planned to name her Grace, but after seeing her for the first time, they felt it wasn't quite right. Mollie had a remarkable presence, known for her intelligence, kindness, and passion. After her parents separated, Mollie moved to Brooklyn, Iowa with her mother and brothers when she was in second grade. This small town became her home, and she flourished, excelling in academics, speech, theater, writing, and cross-country running at Brooklyn Guernsey Malcolm High School. Her talent in speech and writing was particularly notable, though she also loved participating in the choir. By 2018, Mollie was a psychology student at the University of Iowa, but her passion for running remained strong. She continued her nightly jogs as part of her routine. On July 18, 2018, Mollie left her boyfriend Dalton Jack's house in Brooklyn for an evening run. Dalton was working over 130 miles away in Dubuque, Iowa. Mollie was last seen starting her jog around 7:30 p.m., but she never returned. The next morning, when Mollie missed work and couldn't be reached, her family became frantic and reported her missing, sparking a national search. The investigation began by examining Mollie's last known contact, a Snapchat message she sent to Dalton before she left for her jog. While Dalton was away in Dubuque, he received a message from Mollie later that evening. The photos seemed to show her indoors, but it didn't provide any real clues or indicate her location. This message became a critical part of the timeline. As the search for Mollie continued, law enforcement combed the areas she frequently jogged and followed up on any possible leads. The case gained national attention, with the local community, her friends and family all devastated by her sudden disappearance. Mollie's parents described her as a loving, supportive person, always there for others and full of potential.
We know about the tragic event in Ames right after, and part of what I learned from that was this man had been suffering from mental illness as a child, since he was a child. And my thought was, what if someone had helped?
Weeks passed with no significant leads, but the investigation continued. Over 2,300 tips were followed, and more than 500 interviews were conducted, but none of them brought answers. A high-profile false lead emerged with a reported sighting of Mollie at a truck stop in Kearney, Missouri, but it was quickly ruled out as inaccurate. Despite these setbacks, authorities expanded the search across state lines, relentlessly pursuing every possible lead. One of the key pieces of evidence was Mollie's Fitbit, a device she regularly wore. Authorities hoped that the data from the activity tracker would help pinpoint her movements that night. Unfortunately, the Fitbit data failed to provide any meaningful insights. The investigation then shifted focus to specific areas within Brooklyn, including Dalton's home, nearby truck stops, and local businesses.
We're not in a position to say who is a suspect, who isn't a suspect, or that there are suspects.
Despite concentrated efforts, Mollie's whereabouts remained a mystery, and the reward fund grew to over $366,000 in an attempt to encourage new tips. Crime Stoppers clarified that the reward would only be awarded if Mollie were found alive, but as the weeks passed without success, frustration mounted. After weeks of searching, the investigation took a grim turn, on August 21, 2018, when a body was discovered in Poweshiek County near Brooklyn.
Investigators have recovered a body believed to be that of Mollie Tibbetts, the missing 20-year-old college student from Iowa. Greg Wiley is the spokesman for the Reward Fund, and he says he learned of the discovery this morning from a close friend of the Tibbetts family.
2 days later, an autopsy confirmed the worst. It was Mollie Tibbetts. The cause of death was determined to be multiple sharp force injuries, indicating that her death was a homicide. The focus of the investigation shifted from finding Mollie to understanding the circumstances surrounding her death. As authorities dug deeper into the details of Mollie's final moments, they uncovered the role that Cristhian Bahena Rivera, an undocumented immigrant, played in her death. His arrest and the ensuing legal process brought the case into the public eye once again, revealing more about the tragic events that unfolded in the days leading up to Mollie's death. The investigation was far from over, but it had taken a significant step toward answering the question that had haunted so many. What happened to Mollie Tibbetts?
Based on the jury's guilty verdict entered on the 28th day of May 2021, it is the finding of this court that the defendant is guilty and has now ordered, adjudged, and decreed that the defendant is guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree in violation of Iowa Code Section 707.2, parens 1, parens small a.
On August 21, 2018, during a pivotal news conference, investigators revealed that security footage from local surveillance cameras had become a crucial breakthrough in the case. These videos captured vital evidence, including images of a jogger who was later confirmed to be Mollie Tibbetts running through the area on the evening of July 18th. Also recorded was a black Chevrolet Malibu that was repeatedly passing through the same area, which quickly caught the attention of the authorities. Agent Derek Reeson from the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation explained in his trial testimony that the footage was a key development. The video showed the Malibu driving slowly past the location where Mollie was last seen, about 20 to 30 seconds after she had passed. This suggested that the vehicle might have been following her. A few minutes later, the same car appeared again, and the surveillance captured the car driving by once more, this time only a minute after its previous pass. The most telling piece of evidence came around 8:08 p.m. on that same evening. At this point, the Malibu was again spotted on camera, but this time the car appeared to be traveling faster than before. This indicated a potential change in the driver's behavior, hinting at a sense of urgency or possibly a significant shift in the situation. This final moment of footage was crucial in linking the vehicle to Cristhian Bahena Rivera, who would later be identified as the prime suspect in Mollie Tibbetts' tragic disappearance. The surveillance footage was pivotal in directing law enforcement to focus their attention on Rivera. It ultimately led to his arrest and brought investigators much closer to solving the mystery of Mollie's fate. Cristhian Bahena Rivera, a 24-year-old farm worker, was the man responsible for Mollie Tibbetts' death. Originally from El Guayabillo, a small town in Guerrero, Mexico, Rivera entered the United States illegally at the age of 17. After settling in the rural community of Poweshiek County, Iowa, he worked on various farms in the area, including at Yarrabee Farms near Brooklyn, Iowa, where he had been employed since August 20th, 14.
You and you alone forever changed the lives of those who love Mollie Tibbetts. And for that, you and you alone will receive the following sentence.
At the time of the murder, Rivera had been using the false identity of John Budd to receive his paychecks, a name that did not match his legal identity. This alias, along with his unauthorized immigration status, became a significant part of the case as authorities pieced together the details of his background. When investigators began reviewing the surveillance footage, they noted the black Malibu, which appeared to be linked to Rivera. As the investigation intensified, police brought Rivera in for questioning. Despite his initial reluctance to provide much detail, when confronted with the mounting evidence, Rivera confessed to the crime. He admitted to kidnapping Mollie after spotting her during her evening jog, stating that he had panicked when she threatened to call the police. According to Rivera's confession, he abducted Mollie, then drove her to a secluded location. In a senseless act of violence, Rivera killed her and left her body hidden in a cornfield. The area had been searched extensively by law enforcement, but it wasn't until Rivera led them to the exact spot that Mollie's body was found. Despite the weeks of searching, this remote location had been overlooked until Rivera's confession. The motivation behind the crime remains a mystery. Rivera did not have a personal connection to Mollie, and his actions appear to have been driven by a sudden and irrational decision. Rivera's confession detailed how he became frustrated when Mollie threatened to contact the authorities, which ultimately led to her abduction and tragic death. The case took a chilling turn, with authorities grappling to understand why a young woman's life was so violently cut short by someone she did not know. While Rivera's confession and subsequent arrest provided some closure in the case, they also sparked national controversy, particularly regarding his immigration status. Cristhian Bahena Rivera had been living in the United States illegally for several years, and this fact became a focal point during the investigation and trial. As authorities delved deeper into Rivera's background, it was revealed that he had been living and working under false pretenses, using a fake identity to secure employment and avoid detection. His status as an undocumented immigrant raised heated debates about immigration policy and public safety. The Trump administration, along with some Republican politicians, including Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, publicly argued that stricter immigration laws might have prevented the tragedy. They contended that better enforcement of immigration policies could have kept Rivera from entering the U.S. and committing the crime. The case brought to the surface the complex intersection of law enforcement, immigration policy, and community safety. The fact that Rivera had been able to live in the United States without being detected by immigration authorities became a point of contention. Critics of immigration policies questioned the effectiveness of border security and enforcement systems, while others argued that the tragedy of Mollie Tibbetts' death should not be used to fuel anti-immigrant sentiment. Despite the political debates, Rivera was charged with first-degree murder, and on May 28, 2021, a jury convicted him of the crime. The following August, Rivera was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, bringing a sense of justice to Mollie's family and the community. Yet the national discourse surrounding immigration policies, particularly in relation to criminal justice, continued to linger long after the trial. Mollie's death became a symbol in the broader debate about immigration laws and the safety of communities. Her tragic story touched the hearts of many, but it also highlighted the deep divisions within American society about how best to handle issues related to illegal immigration and the impact it might have on public safety. As the case concluded, the question remained, could the system have prevented Mollie's death? And if so, how can such tragedies be avoided in the future? In the end, Mollie Tibbetts' life and death left a lasting mark on the national conversation, and while justice was served with Rivera's conviction, the complex issues raised by her murder continue to resonate in the debate over immigration and law enforcement in the United States.